Hi Summit Fit ladies, it's Rachel here and I am going to be demonstrating today how to cook and prep roasted Brussels sprouts. So one of the things that changed kind of first off when I began changing my diet was I wanted to have some sort of replacement for my burger sides or sandwich sides, like chips and fries, are those typical fried foods are your, typical side dishes. And Brussels sprouts for me have become kind of like that French fry or chip substitute. Now, if I'm making fries at home, they're obviously healthy and there's nothing wrong with them. But if I'm out at a restaurant, cruciferous vegetables with some salt on them that are crunchy are a good substitute. Obviously now cruciferous vegetables don't taste anything like a French fry, but the texture as far as the crunch that you get from these when you roast them and that saltiness to me tastes really, really good with a burger or a side of that sort. So I'm going to show you today how to make it. These are really simple to make and prep ahead of time, and you can put them on the side of a grass-fed hot dog again, or a burger, or just as a side dish by itself. We have good healthy fats on this with the coconut oil we're going to use, and yeah, they're just a fabulous cruciferous vegetable that's really a great side dish. And obviously cruciferous vegetables are one of our power foods that we want to be getting in every single day, and they just offer an amazing amount of antioxidants and have been proven to reduce our risk of cancer because they're so powerful in your nutrition. So let's jump in here. These are from Costco, so this is a 2-pound bag. Now Brussels sprouts are kind of a fall food, so obviously it's summer. These aren't super seasonal, but they're easy to find pretty much year-round for a pretty inexpensive price. So what we're going to do is we're going to de-stem this Brussels sprout, so it has kind of a hard stem on the end. I'm going to cut that off, and then I'm going to cut them in half. And sometimes the Brussels sprouts are really small, so I might not cut them in half, but these are on the bigger side, so I'm going to cut them in half. And these outer leaves will actually fall off, and you don't need to put those in with your batch. They just kind of come off, and then you're left with this. And I'm putting mine in a cast iron skillet, which is what I'm going to cook them in the oven. We are preheating our oven to 375. So I'm going to go ahead and cut all of these up and put them in our pan. And you need a good sharp chef knife and a nice big cutting board for this. It really helps the process go quicker when you have good sharp knives. And I love to have these already made ahead of time because they're really easy to warm up during the week. I just throw them in a skillet again to warm them up and just put a little extra oil, and they heat back up super, super well and don't tend to have that mushiness. A lot of times, for whatever reason, restaurants will serve them boiled, which is just a terrible idea because it makes them really, really soggy, and nobody likes soggy Brussels sprouts or any cruciferous vegetable for that matter. I find that a lot of people don't eat vegetables because, as a kid they ate them in the cafeteria and they were horrible, which I totally can agree with that, or they had them at, a bad restaurant, or their grandma fixed them, and they were just soggy and bland. Vegetables should have tons of flavor, and they should not have, a soggy texture. A little bit of crunch really changes things for, a vegetable. I am not a soggy vegetable fan, so this roasted recipe will really bring out just the crispiness and the texture that these guys can offer. And I love Brussels sprouts because they can be fixed up in so many different ways. You can put any spices you like on them. I've done a variety of spices. I'm just going to do kind of a regular generic one today, but I've done chili powder, I've done like crushed red pepper, done like cinnamon before in the fall with different fall spices. You can kind of get real creative with these. And also, there are some really yummy sauces out there that you can now make to dip these in, which would be so much like a French fry, right? I was talking about that earlier. Obviously, with these being a good French fry or chip substitute for your sandwiches in the summertime, and so having that dipping sauce would give it that French fry experience, right? Which is really fun and yummy. So you can go over to Pinterest and find a bunch of those. Just try to avoid the vegetable oil ones. Try to use an avocado oil base or olive oil base, and stay away from those sauces that use canola and soybean oil and that type of thing. Now, a lot of people will try to roast these in olive oil. Olive oil has a really low smoke point, so you need to make sure you're just using olive oil to add into a salad dressing or, put over vegetables that you're just going to eat straight away. You do not want to put olive oil in the oven and cook it, because when it's cooked past its smoke point, it releases carcinogenic properties, and that's harmful to your health for sure. And it just destroys the oil itself. And so I'm going to be using a coconut oil that can be heated to, I think, so this one can be heated to 375. So that's what we're heating the oven to. So that's perfect. Some coconut oils are processed differently, so you kind of just have to read the back. Duck fat or butter can be heated even higher, and some of the really refined coconut oils, you can heat them really, really high. So make sure you get high smoke point oils. And then avocado oil is another one, and you can cook this one to 500, and I get this at Costco too. So this is a fantastic oil, but I love coconut oil because it adds a little hint of sweetness and texture to the vegetable that you can't get otherwise in other oils. So I'm going to move this over so you can kind of watch. I'm just going to pour a couple of tablespoons of oil over these vegetables here. And you could also add some onion to this, which would be really yummy. If I were going to saute them, I might do that. You want them to be nice and coated. You don't want them to be dry. And I'm going to do fresh black pepper. So I'm not measuring this. I never really measure. I kind of just eyeball it. So that's kind of how seasonings go. I love the fresh cracked pepper. And I love the contrast of the white and the black on the vegetables. And then we're going to do a little garlic salt, because everything's good with garlic salt, right? And so this seasoning combination will go with just about any recipe you want. Here's a bit of onion granules, so that'll be super yummy. And then we're going to do some coarse sea salt. I love the coarse sea salt on this type of vegetable with the roasting process. This adds some good texture to it. Okay, so I'm going to get a spoon now and stir this around. Make sure I have enough oil. I might need to add a bit more, so 2 tablespoons might be a little under. It might be more like 3 to 4 tablespoons. But again, it's fat, right? Fat's good for us, and we don't need to measure it, because fat helps us absorb the vitamins and minerals in our foods, particularly vegetables. So don't be afraid. There's a reason why vegetables taste good with fat on them, and dressing, right? Don't be afraid of your dressings and your fats, because they are beneficial all the way around and make your skin glow, and they're good for your gut. So, okay, so these look pretty coated. I'm going to add just a touch more. I have a lot in here. So 2 pounds of Brussels sprouts here. I would say this will feed us 4 to 5 times. It really all depends on how much we eat at once. But I'm going to pop these in the oven and roast them for about 15 minutes. So I don't like them to be like super shriveled up and overcooked. I like them golden brown and a little crispy. So you kind of just have to watch them as you want. But yeah, after you're done with that, then they're ready to eat. You can put them in the refrigerator to store for the week or eat them right away or whatever you want to do, or make a sauce to dip them in for the French fry experience. But they are super yummy, super healthy, really easy to, again, throw together. This took me 10 minutes, and I went slower because I was talking to you. So 7 or 8 minutes, 10 or 15 minutes in the oven, and you've got a great cruciferous vegetable prepared for the rest of the week. So I hope you've enjoyed this cooking demo episode and learned about a new vegetable to add to your rotation. I'll look forward to seeing you on our next video.